Hi, my name is January Gill O'Neil. I'm a poet and professor, and I want to invite you to my world and my creative process and announce the publication of my book, Glitter Road. So back in 2019, I was awarded a fellowship to the University of Mississippi, Oxford, the John and Renee Grisham Writers Fellowship, and I took my teenagers down to Mississippi for an academic year. And I hadn't written any poems at that point. I just wanted to get them settled, get them enrolled in high school, and learn the area and figure out, what this life would look like for the next year. Before we went down, there were some incidents that happened in Mississippi that gave us a bit of pause. Emmett Till's marker, the memorial where he was pulled out of the water, was vandalized by 3 Old Miss students. The moment went viral. And so, that coupled with some other things that were happening with the state, including whether or not to get rid of the Confederate stars and bars flag, all this happened before we went down, and I wasn't sure what we were walking into. I mean, it was a terrific opportunity, but oh my goodness, what was I getting myself into? And being from Virginia, I know exactly what the South is like, but Mississippi is unique and distinct, and I just didn't want to put us in harm's way. But I was pleasantly surprised when I got down there. And one of the things that got me on this journey to learn more about Emmett Till and the legacy of slavery in the Deep South was going to the rededication of the Emmett Till marker. And we did that in late October of 2019. And from there, I was just enthralled with Emmett Till's story, how it affected myself and my family, and being in a state that was part of the Confederacy and learning about the history of slavery from an intense standpoint. At one point, there were more slaves in Mississippi than slaveholders. And that trauma, I can still feel when I walk around in Mississippi. That trauma I can call to mind right now, the trauma in the land, so many ancestors who walk with me now, and their legacy. All of that is tied up in this story. But this story is also about growth and joy and nature and humor and family. So it is not just pain and misery. It really is about transformations and meanders and rivers and magnolias and the beauty and why we do what we do. It is rewarding to talk about so many varied stories and to add my version to this great grand story that we all are telling.
Hi, I'm MP Carver. I'm a poet and director of the Massachusetts Poetry Festival. I live here in Salem, Massachusetts, right next door to January. We've been friends for a long time, colleagues, and I'm just so glad to be able to recommend her new book, Glitter Road, her 4th collection. It's not often that I can be sure that somebody is both a beautiful poet and a beautiful person, but with Jan, I know it's true. She does so much for poetry and so much for the community, and I hope you'll check it out. These are words that aren't to be missed. I'm just going to read a couple words from the end of the poem, Begin Again. When we break bread together, perhaps the world begins here, begins again, which is no small thing.
Hi, I'm Dawn Paul, and I'm a member of the Thursday Poets, and I'm here today to talk about January O'Neil, who's a North Shore poet and poet of the world. I love her work because Jan doesn't shut her eyes to what's wrong with the world's problems, but there's always there's hope, there's recognition of the good things that are going on. One of my favorite poems, she's talking about going to Mississippi, as a black woman, and picking cotton, or just picking one bowl of cotton and thinking about that whole history, and in the Harbor Road. And yet at the end, there's an appreciation for the beauty of the land. So there's always this resurrection, this sort of feeling in her work, and I really appreciate that. And as a community person, she has been amazing for what she's done. North Shore and the world. Brings people together. She uses what sort of access she has to the poetry world. She shares that. She brings in more people. She's done so much good work for the community here on North Shore, and I've just been honored to be a friend of hers.
I am so excited to celebrate the publication of January O'Neil's 4th collection of poetry, Glitter Road. It's coming out by CavanKerry Press very soon, and it's political, historical, personal. It's really good. I hope you'll check it out, grab your copy, and join me in celebrating how Jan just shimmers and shines.
I would say as a friend, January is like a good poem in that we don't see each other often, but whenever we do sit down to talk, it's as if we're continuing a conversation. She's also not the flashiest person in the room, not the loudest person in the room, but she does have this gravitational pull about her that draws you in, that makes you feel connected, makes you feel like you're not a stranger. In many ways, I believe her poetry works in the same fashion in that when you're reading it, you feel like you're right there with the speaker of the poem. You kind of feel sometimes that this is my experience, this is a poem that I've been wanting to read, that I've been asking for. And her latest collection, Glitter Road, which I think is the most intimate collection to date, is one such collection. Congratulations, January.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Aguero. I'm a member of the Thursday Poets and a big fan of January O'Neil's. One, she's an incredible literary citizen. She has really worked to promote other poets. I moved to Salem 6 years ago from Cambridge, and she really welcomed me into the group. This is also Glitter Road is quite an amazing book. It's filled with close observation, great variety of poems, family poems, poems about the social situation. And she's such an artist that although there's a lot of passion and emotion in these poems, they're really contained in tight craft of art. It makes them even more powerful. And I just wanted to comment briefly on a line from one of her poems called, "After Dante writes Murder, I teach a poetry class to high school students on Zoom." And in this poem, January writes, we read Claudia Rankine, Danez Smith. Can art affect change when every bullet blooms the color of elegy? And that's, I think, a question all writers and artists ask themselves. And I would say about this book, it can be very powerful.
I am J.D. Springer. I'm a member of Thursday Poets, and I'm thrilled to welcome January O'Neil's Glitter Road into the world. January is a dear friend who has meant a lot to me over the last 2 decades. She is an incredibly supportive colleague who wants everyone to succeed and wants everyone to write what they are meant to write. I first met Jane probably 15 years ago when she came to a writers group meeting and introduced herself by saying, well, I'm a mom and I'm a poet. And that humility, I think, she still has, despite her incredible successes and her real fame as a writer.
Hi everybody, my name is Jennifer Martelli. I'm a member of the Thursday Poets, and I'm coming from Lulu's Cafe in Salem to celebrate January Gill O'Neil's latest book, Glitter Road, from CavanKerry Press. There would be no Thursday Poets if it weren't for Jan O'Neil, and I'm so grateful for friendship as a person and as a poet. My poetry is better because of interacting with Jan. She's such a literary citizen. I hope all of you will read Glitter Road. It's an important book, not only for its beauty and its poetic mastery, but for what it talks about Emmett Till and our legacy in this country.
Hi, I'm Collie Lightfoot. I'm a member of the Thursday Poets, and I think of Jan as really the energizing force behind us all being part of the Thursday Poets. She is an energy source for events, for writing, and in addition, she's a really good poet and good teacher. And she's very good at making poetry not seem like some weird thing that you have to be a nerd in order to do. She is very much of the community. Yeah, and I really like her work. When I read a poem of hers, I feel like I'm going to be taken somewhere that I want to go, that I want to know more about.
So one of the things I love about this book, and there's so many things to love, is that my daughter Ella designed this magnolia that acts as a section break all through the book. The magnolia is such an important image and flower, and it's native to Mississippi. And in the book, it works as a pause between the larger sections to talk a little bit about Mississippi and those poems. And she designed it. My daughter Ella is now at Mass Art, and she did it before she was accepted. So it might be my most favorite thing about this book, that my daughter has a part in this book, as well as, you know, a poem or two for her as well. So Glitter Road was really the second title that I had for the book, but Glitter Road ended up being the last poem in the book. And I wanted something that captured more of the joy, something that was broader, and Glitter Road is just a great title. My publisher, CavanKerry Press, was wonderful about making it look shiny. So this is a map. It's a Mississippi map of rivers and overlays of currents over decades, over centuries. And so to have one of these roads, these currents pop, is a non-literal way of thinking about a road, how it changes, how we change, how we grow and shift, and how the landscape around us moves. And that was really an important element to the story. I'm just thrilled to be able to tell this story, my story, which will connect with things that you know and you love and you believe. Because if we don't tell these stories, then they disappear, or someone else gets to tell them with their spin, and not always favorable. It's important what gets remembered and what doesn't. And so it's an honor just to be able to talk about these interesting, dynamic, ordinary, extraordinary moments in our lives, and to not let them go. It's almost as if poems for me are photos and snapshots, and I want to remember them, and then I want to show them to you. So how lucky and wonderful I feel about all of this. I'm very grateful.